All right, let's dive into the rich, nutty world of chocolate pistachio fudge. This recipe combines smooth, semi-sweet chocolate with the delicate crunch of pistachios for a treat that's as beautiful as it is delicious. Whether you're a chocolate lover or a pistachio fan, this fudge has a bit of everything to satisfy your cravings. By the end, you'll have a tray of perfectly square fudge pieces, ready to impress at your next holiday party, or keep all to yourself. I won't tell. Hi, I'm Arina. Welcome to my kitchen, where I share my favorite recipes and tricks to help you make treats that look as amazing as they taste. Today, I'm excited to dive into a recipe that's as fun to make as it is delicious. I've linked all the tools and other recipes you might need in the description below, so you're fully set up. Let's get started. First up, I like to measure out all my ingredients to keep things organized and ensure a smooth process. Here's a little tip from my experience. Make sure both the butter and sweetened condensed milk are at room temperature. It may seem minor, but this small step helps everything blend together beautifully, giving your fudge that velvety, lump-free texture we all love. Now that we're prepped, it's time to set up the double boiler. Start by filling your saucepan about halfway with water and bring it to a gentle simmer. Once it's simmering, turn the heat down to low. Then, place a large glass mixing bowl on top of the saucepan, making sure the bowl doesn't actually touch the water. This setup ensures the chocolate melts smoothly without burning, which is essential for perfect fudge. And if you want to dive deeper into the double boiler technique, I have a whole video breaking down the process step by step. Check it out if you're interested. All right, let's get this mixture going. First, I add 3 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips to my mixing bowl. They bring just the right balance of chocolate flavor, not too sweet, not too bitter, and melt beautifully. Next, I pour in 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. This thick, creamy milk is the secret to that rich, melt-in-your-mouth texture we all love in fudge. It blends perfectly with the chocolate, creating a smooth base. Then, I add 3 tablespoons of softened butter. The butter gives the fudge a silky consistency and makes it even richer. It melts right in, adding a touch of creaminess that's hard to beat. Lastly, I add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's a small touch, but really enhances the chocolate, bringing out those warm, cozy flavors. As everything starts to melt, I reach for my trusty silicone spatula and start stirring gently. Let me tell you, a good silicone spatula is a game changer here. It's not just any spatula. Silicone's flexibility allows it to bend and scrape down every bit from the sides and bottom, making sure nothing gets left behind or sticks. This really helps prevent any of that precious chocolate from scorching, which is key to achieving that silky, glossy texture we're after. Now, I don't rush this part. I give it a good stir every few moments, allowing the ingredients to blend at their own pace. After around 10 minutes, you'll start to see the mixture transform, becoming thick, glossy, and velvety smooth. This is my favorite part. I know it's ready for the next step when I can't see any lumps. Just a beautiful shiny fudge base that looks and smells absolutely irresistible. And here's a little trick. If you notice the mixture sticking too much to the sides, lift the bowl and give the spatula a quick swipe around the edges. It's a small step that makes a big difference for that ultra smooth finish. Now, we're ready to move on. I hope you're having as much fun creating this chocolate pistachio fudge as I am. If you're enjoying this recipe, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss out on more delicious recipes. Have you tried making fudge before? Or do you have any favorite tips and tricks? I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen. Now, let's jump back in and finish up this irresistibly rich fudge. With our chocolate mixture perfectly smooth and glossy, it's time to bring in the star ingredient, pistachios. I grab 1 cup of shelled pistachios and toss them right into the bowl. There's something so satisfying about this step. The rich green color of the pistachios against the deep dark chocolate feels so festive and indulgent. Now, using my silicone spatula, I gently fold the pistachios into the fudge. Here's a little tip. Folding instead of stirring helps to keep the nuts intact and ensures they're spread evenly throughout the mixture. I'm aiming for that perfect bite where each piece has a delightful crunch and that rich nutty flavor pistachios bring to the table. I take my time with this step to make sure every single pistachio is evenly distributed so that no matter where you cut, you're guaranteed a balanced mix of chocolate and pistachio. This balance of creamy fudge with crunchy nuts is what makes each bite of this treat so irresistible. Now that our fudge is beautifully mixed and filled with pistachios, it's time to get the pan ready. I like to use an 8x8 cheesecake pan because its square shape gives us those nice, even pieces, and the removable base makes it a breeze to work with. Start by lining the pan with parchment paper. And here's a little tip I swear by. Let the parchment hang over the edges a bit. Those overhanging edges will act as handles, making it so much easier to lift out the entire block of fudge once it's set. If you're like me and have had your fair share of sticky fudge disasters, trust me on this one. I even have a separate video dedicated to lining a baking pan with parchment paper. It makes all the difference, especially when you're working with sticky, rich treats like fudge. A well-lined pan means no sticking, no messy edges, and a perfectly smooth surface to work with when we cut. With our pan ready, we're all set for the next step. Now it's time to pour that glossy fudge mixture into our prepared pan. Carefully transfer it from the bowl, letting it flow evenly across the parchment paper. Using my silicone spatula, I spread the fudge all the way to each corner of the pan, making sure it fills every nook and cranny. This ensures we'll get nice, sharp edges when we cut it later. Take a moment to smooth the top as best you can. I like to use light, sweeping motions with the spatula, pressing gently to even out any lumps or air bubbles. A smooth top makes for an even, professional-looking finish, so it's worth spending a bit of extra time on this part. If you find a few stubborn bumps, don't worry, they'll settle as the fudge sets. Once everything is leveled, our pan is ready for the fridge. This fudge is already looking good, but just wait until it's fully set. For the final flourish, grab about 1/3 of a cup of chopped pistachios and sprinkle them generously across the top of the fudge. This part is fun because those vibrant green pistachios add such a festive pop of color against the smooth chocolate. Perfect for presentation. I like to spread them evenly so that every square gets that satisfying crunch and signature pistachio flavor. Once they're scattered to your liking, gently press the pistachios into the fudge with the spatula. This little step ensures they stay firmly in place once the fudge sets, so you don't lose any pieces when you're cutting or serving. Plus, pressing them in slightly gives the top layer a beautifully textured finish, which makes it look even more impressive when you're ready to present or gift it. Now comes the hard part. Waiting. Pop the pan in the fridge and let it set for at least 2 hours, but overnight is even better. Trust me, letting the fudge chill fully makes a big difference, helping it firm up for those clean, easy cuts later on. I know it's tempting to dive right in, but a little patience goes a long way here. Giving it time to set really brings out that rich, creamy texture, so hang tight. It'll be worth the wait. Once your fudge has set, it's time to set up for the big slice. Now, if you're planning to freeze your fudge for gifting later, this is the perfect stage to do it. I have a video that covers all the steps for freezing fudge to keep it fresh, so check that out for my best storage tips. But if you're ready to dive into cutting, let's get your workspace set. Place a clean cutting board down. Grab a pair of disposable vinyl gloves to avoid fingerprints on that glossy surface, a large knife, and if you have your 5-wheel dough cutter. If you don't have a 5-wheel dough cutter, don't worry. I have another video where I show you exactly how to cut fudge without it, using just a kitchen knife and some handy tips to get those clean, even lines. Having a damp towel nearby is also a lifesaver. It's perfect for wiping the knife after each cut, keeping your fudge edges smooth and precise. Whether you're using the dough cutter or a regular knife, you're set up for professional-looking results. right. It's time to transform that block of fudge into beautiful, even squares. Start by gently removing the fudge from the pan. Those parchment paper edges make this part easy. Carefully peel off the parchment paper and place the fudge block on your clean cutting board. Take a moment to admire that smooth, glossy surface. Now, grab your 5-wheel dough cutter, press firmly as you score the fudge across in one direction to create evenly spaced lines. Turn the fudge block 90 degrees and score again, forming a perfect grid. This extra step helps guide each cut so every piece looks uniform and neat. Having the grid scored is a game changer when it's time to make the final cuts. Your fudge is now set up to be sliced with precision. Okay, let's dive into the best part, cutting those beautiful fudge squares. With your large knife ready, follow the scored lines from earlier, pressing down gently to keep each cut clean and precise. Here's my go-to tip. After each cut, wipe the blade with a damp towel. Keeps those chocolatey edges sharp and smooth, giving each piece that professional, finished look. Once you've sliced through in one direction, gently push the squares back together to keep everything snug. Now turn the fudge block 90 degrees and cut along the other set of scored lines. This way, you get perfectly even squares without any edges crumbling. I absolutely love making a variety of fudge for Christmas gifting. There's something so satisfying about crafting different flavors and watching a beautiful, festive tray of fudge come together. I usually start planning my fudge lineup early, deciding which flavors I want to include and sometimes testing out new ideas. Of course, there are the classic must-haves like chocolate and peanut butter, but every year I like to throw in a few unique flavors like pistachio, peppermint, or a rich caramel swirl. Each batch is a little different, adding its own flair to the holiday spread. As December approaches, I set aside a weekend to make all the fudge in one big batch, a true holiday tradition in my kitchen. I always make sure to have plenty of colorful toppings on hand, crushed candy canes, toasted nuts, sprinkles, to give each fudge variety its own festive look. There's nothing like adding those final touches and seeing each flavor come to life with its distinct personality. And I'll admit, making so many different flavors can feel like a bit of an assembly line, but the joy it brings when gifting these boxes makes every minute worthwhile. And there you have it, gorgeous, rich squares of chocolate pistachio fudge. Whether you're sharing them as gifts, impressing guests, or keeping a stash just for yourself, these little squares are irresistible. And if you're planning to gift them, be sure to check out my next video, where I'll show you how to package fudge beautifully for that extra touch.